Can this get ugly? Can the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark get so toxic? Can the relationship between the two sides fall apart so severely that it turns into a messy breakup? Instead of being a 7 to 10 year marriage, it is a 4-year, nasty, volatile, abusive, toxic.
The Fever managed to take the biggest superstar in women's basketball and turn the situation into pure chaos. Caitlin Clark was supposed to be the player who changed everything for Indiana. Instead, fans are watching endless drama, questionable decisions, and national sports shows ripping the organization apart for benching the one athlete filling arenas every night. And now the rumors are getting louder than ever. If this keeps going, could Caitlin Clark seriously consider walking away from Indiana?
Supporters, let's talk about the Indiana Fever. We got some different things this morning. We got some word from the WNBA on what is now known as Caitlin Clark Gate, and I'm talking about the random "I'm going to sit you out" of nowhere on Wednesday night's game against the Portland Fire. And again, they won that game. You got Amber Cox out here bragging.
Before we continue, make sure you like and subscribe because this entire situation is getting out of control fast. The WNBA finally found its biggest breakout star in Caitlin Clark, a player capable of changing the league forever. And somehow, the Indiana Fever managed to turn that golden opportunity into pure chaos that now has fans, media personalities, and even former players questioning everything happening behind the scenes.
I want to show you Caitlin Clark, the last game when she's sitting out, and her interaction between herself and Stephanie White. That doesn't appear to be the kind of interaction that would indicate to me that Caitlin Clark thinks Stephanie White is a massive problem for her. Maybe we're offended by the things Stephanie White says in the post-game press conference, but maybe she has some understanding with...
The moment Caitlin Clark entered the league, everything exploded. Packed arenas, massive ratings, fans flooding social media every single night. She made the WNBA feel impossible to ignore again. And yet, the Indiana Fever keep managing this historic opportunity like somebody handed them $1 billion sports empire and they accidentally crashed it before leaving the driveway.
This video is about Caitlin Clark. The WNBA continues to fail her. I seen somebody say, hey, why doesn't any of the leaders, why doesn't any of the vet players, why doesn't anybody defend Caitlin Clark? Because the WNBA is failing Caitlin Clark. It just is what it is. And if you guys want to sit here and there's people who are going to come into my comments and say, oh my God, here you are, black woman, caping for this white girl. I am. I'm putting the cape on for her because it has to be said and I have to call it out and call it for what it is. It is starting to be...
At first, this felt like the beginning of a dynasty. Now, it feels like the start of a disaster nobody wants to admit is happening. The excitement surrounding Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever is slowly being replaced by suspicion, frustration, and non-stop rumors. And honestly, the entire situation is beginning to resemble a celebrity divorce where both sides keep acting happy in public while secretly preparing for the inevitable fallout behind the scenes.
Like the arena was filled to half capacity, which would mean there was less than 10,000 people in attendance last night for the most popular team in pretend basketball. This was unheard of the last couple of years. The Felines were a guaranteed sellout every game. Uncle KC fans of the Indiana Felines are mad.
The more Caitlin Clark speaks publicly, the more fans feel like there is a hidden message buried underneath the jokes and smiles. It is not obvious anger. It is not dramatic frustration. It is something far more unsettling for Indiana Fever fans: distance. And once supporters begin sensing emotional separation between a superstar and a franchise, every interview starts sounding like a secret message waiting to be decoded. That is why social media completely lost its mind after Caitlin made those comments about being here until next year, while joking around with Aaliyah Boston. To normal people it sounded harmless. Just teammates laughing about contracts and future seasons. But sports fans are not normal when it comes to their favorite stars. They replay clips endlessly, study body language like detectives, and turn tiny comments into massive theories within hours. But this time, the reaction may actually have some truth behind it. Caitlyn had multiple opportunities to sound fully committed to Indiana's future, and instead she kept things strangely open-ended. That detail did not go unnoticed. Superstar athletes understand exactly how powerful their words can be. They grew up watching players like LeBron James control entire franchises simply by maintaining uncertainty around their future. LeBron turned contract flexibility into psychological pressure. Every organization he played for understood the message clearly: keep me happy or I can leave whenever I want. One failed offseason, one disappointing roster move, and suddenly he was gone before executives could even explain their long-term vision to the media.
The way, if you go back to look, she's got like 2 posts related to Caitlin Clark, one of them just 9 hours ago. But prior to that, she didn't have another Caitlin Clark related post since May 9th. But she posted about everybody else, including Stephanie White. Amber Cox knows what she's doing. All right, she's out here passive-aggressively trolling.
Now the internet is beginning to wonder if Caitlin Clark is quietly learning from the same superstar playbook that changed modern sports forever. Because if we are being honest, Indiana has spent the past year acting both grateful for Caitlin's popularity and completely terrified by how enormous she has become at the exact same time. That contradiction is impossible to ignore now. The league needs her more than ever, but the attention surrounding her has grown so massive that it sometimes feels bigger than the WNBA itself. And every single statistic proves it. Packed arenas, exploding ratings, merchandise selling out everywhere, teams relocating games to bigger venues just to handle the crowds. Caitlin Clark turned ordinary WNBA nights into must-watch events. She became more than a basketball player. She became a movement. But despite all of that momentum, the Fever somehow continues stepping directly into controversy over and over again. The latest example pushed fans over the edge after the organization announced Caitlin would miss a game for load management barely an hour before tip-off. That timing felt catastrophic to supporters who paid premium prices just for the chance to watch her live. Because the truth is, many people attending these games are not hardcore basketball analysts obsessed with strategy breakdowns. They are there because Caitlin Clark transformed the experience into a cultural event. She is the headline, the attraction, the reason casual fans suddenly care about women's basketball at all. And when the attraction disappears at the last second, fans feel blindsided immediately.
Ladies and gentlemen, have no fear. Caitlin Clark is here. Oh yeah, we have Caitlin Clark back in the building. As we see the status update, Caitlin Clark back is available for tonight's game. Come on, man, we about to eat, baby. We about to eat. Now, I can't lie. We needed Caitlin tonight, man, because the Valkyries' defense is ridiculous. They are ridiculous, all right? I don't know what was going on with the Liberty, but, man, they couldn't find a bucket in that third quarter last.
The second Caitlin Clark was removed from the lineup, the entire vibe around the game changed. Instead of feeling like one of the biggest sporting events in the country, it suddenly felt like a lifeless corporate presentation where everyone was forced to pretend the energy was still there. That frustration exploded even more after radio host Craig Carton publicly ripped into the Fever and the WNBA. His argument was brutally simple. Most casual fans are buying tickets because they want to see Caitlin Clark play. That is not an insult to other athletes. It is just reality. Every major sport depends on superstar attraction, and right now Caitlin is the biggest attraction the WNBA has ever had. Then came another viral moment that sent social media into detective mode. During a press conference, Fever coach Stephanie White appeared noticeably relieved after finally receiving a question unrelated to Caitlin Clark. On its own, the clip probably meant nothing. But once fans already suspect drama, the internet stops viewing moments normally. Suddenly, every facial expression becomes evidence. Every laugh becomes hidden shade. Every uncomfortable interaction gets turned into another episode of an ongoing soap opera fans cannot stop watching. And before long, everybody online started asking the same dangerous question. Is the relationship between Caitlin Clark and the Fever already becoming more complicated than anyone wants to admit?
You have one side gaslighting the other. You have the other side putting their heart and soul into making this relationship work. Meanwhile, the other side is busy flirting with everybody else, giving attention to everybody else. Is this breakup between Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, number one, is it headed for a breakup? And number two, is it going to get messy? Is it going to get nasty? It's going to be very interesting after this season going into the fourth year when the Three Stooges Amber.
That is why the conversation around Caitlin Clark feels so different now. Fans are no longer just talking about wins and losses. They are starting to wonder why it sometimes feels like the Fever are emotionally overwhelmed by their own superstar. Because from the outside looking in, the dynamic feels strange. Generational players are usually treated like untouchable icons that franchises spend decades praying for. But parts of Caitlin's time in Indiana already feel weirdly stressful, like everyone involved is carrying pressure they do not fully know how to handle. And that tension becomes dangerous once fans begin imagining a future where she is no longer there. Caitlin has never publicly asked out. She has never threatened to leave. But the second supporters mentally accept that leaving could someday happen, every single interaction becomes loaded with meaning. Every quote gets dissected. Every press conference becomes a storyline. Every awkward moment starts feeding the rumors. And Indiana knows the truth. If Caitlin Clark ever became available, other cities would line up immediately. New York would market her like the face of modern basketball. Los Angeles would turn her into a global celebrity overnight. Phoenix would promote her like a superstar athlete mixed with a Hollywood icon. That possibility alone completely changes the pressure on the Fever organization. Now every move feels enormous. Coaching decisions, injury management, roster construction, public messaging. Fans are already wondering whether Indiana fully realizes they are holding one of the most valuable stars women's basketball has ever seen.
I'm somebody who noticed it her rookie year, and it was so weird, but it's now going into her third year, and it's the same nonsense, and it's constantly nobody defends her, nobody is taking up for her, but everybody can blame her for everything. People can point out everything her fans do, and everybody can attack her, but there's literally no one who is actually defending her outside of...
The similarities between Caitlin Clark's situation and early LeBron James in Cleveland are starting to make fans seriously uncomfortable. Back then, the Cavaliers had the most valuable young star in basketball and still spent years fumbling roster decisions around him like a franchise trying to build a championship team without reading the instructions first. Eventually, LeBron stopped waiting for things to magically improve. Caitlin Clark is nowhere near that breaking point right now. But people are beginning to notice the same kinds of early signals. Because when superstar athletes start talking about flexibility, shorter timelines, and uncertain futures, organizations usually panic for a reason. Players who feel secure tend to sound secure. They speak confidently about staying long-term. They remove doubt. Caitlin has not fully done that, and fans noticed immediately. They noticed the hesitation. They noticed how carefully she avoided making permanent-sounding commitments to Indiana. Maybe the comments mean nothing at all. But sports history shows that major superstar exits often begin with subtle moments exactly like these before turning into full-blown chaos years later. Meanwhile, the WNBA continues having a strangely awkward relationship with Caitlin's fame. The league clearly benefits from her popularity more than anyone else. Ratings soar when she plays. Arenas overflow with fans. Social media engagement explodes constantly. Yet there are still moments where the league almost feels uneasy about openly acknowledging just how massive her impact really is. And that uncomfortable contradiction keeps fueling endless debates online about whether the WNBA truly knows how to handle a superstar this globally recognizable.
So when it comes to Stephanie White, and I did see that video pop up online yesterday from their Storm game, what stands out to me is we have to hold Stephanie White accountable. Now, whether or not Caitlin Clark respect her, I don't think Caitlin Clark would go about it by damaging not just her character, but Stephanie White's character as well. Now, we did see some slippage in that one interaction when Caitlin Clark snatched her arm out of her hand, but overall, I think
The Caitlin Clark conversation has officially reached a level of chaos where every Fever game now feels like a presidential election mixed with a reality show season finale. Every comment becomes a debate. Every interview becomes internet evidence. Every awkward moment gets replayed across social media like it contains hidden secrets fans need to decode. And honestly, the most shocking part may be how composed Caitlin herself has remained through all of it. Because imagine entering a professional sports league and instantly becoming responsible for ratings, ticket sales, online engagement, media attention, and the emotional state of millions of basketball fans acting like FBI interrogation experts after every post-game interview. That is not ordinary rookie pressure. That is the pressure of becoming a cultural phenomenon overnight. Now the Fever organization faces the single hardest task in modern sports. keeping a generational superstar truly satisfied long-term. Not temporarily satisfied. Not smiling for the camera satisfied. Genuinely satisfied. Because Caitlin Clark changed the audience of the WNBA almost immediately. Fans who never cared about women's basketball suddenly follow schedules, injury reports, and team rivalries daily. She pulled completely new viewers into the sport, which makes some of Indiana's public communication issues feel even more confusing. Fans keep criticizing the same problems repeatedly. Vague injury updates. Last-second announcements. Mixed messaging. Awkward press conferences that somehow create even more controversy instead of calming things down. And now even neutral sports observers are starting to notice the disconnect. Then things escalated further after reports surfaced that the Fever had received a warning connected to proper injury report procedures. That only added more fuel to a fanbase already convinced the organization is struggling to manage the spotlight surrounding the biggest star the league has seen in years.